So the first thing to do after finding rust bubbles on my rear quarter was to get the grinder, goggles as well, safety first and all that. Give them a bit of a clean. That's better. Yeah, get the grinder, grind away at the panel, get rid of the paint and any other foreign object that's not meant to be on there. See if I can find a bit of clean metal before I can start repairing it and get it to paint. So let's go. Didn't take long to realise that this panel had been repaired before and whoever did it had made a hatchet job on it. I think the geezer that done it was called John Wayne or Stevie Wonder, one or t'other. Either way, you couldn't see what that he was doing. On this, the more I grinded, the worse it was looking. But I kept going anyway to see if anything was salvageable. Wasn't long before I realised this was going to be a much bigger job than anticipated. The panel had been bodged together previously and the metal needed cutting out and replacing properly. So I carried on with the grinder, cut out as much metal as I thought necessary to be able to weld this panel back in without the rust coming back at a later date. Grinded away as much as I thought necessary as well from the rest of the quarter. As you can see, the filler cap I pushed out of the way so I didn't do any damage doing this. This little bit down here I think will be okay with a bit of weld put in because that is more surface. And this was an absolute bodge, pieced together like a Meccano set. Yeah, that's a piece of angle iron you can see in the back there. Yeehaw! So the next in line was cutting the panel or the piece that I needed to cut to suit the cutout that I made in the rear quarter. So to start with, which I didn't record, was making a cardboard stencil of exactly what I needed the shape to be. I then transferred this onto a sheet of steel and started to use my grinder to cut the panel out, the piece that I needed. Once I'd got the shape right, I had to bend the panel to suit the lines where the rear quarter folds back and trim little bits here and there to make sure it fit properly before the welding process was to start. So yeah, this is me in my flip-flops. No goggles, no safety thought about here, just cutting this panel out. Don't try this at home, kids. I then kept trimming, checking, using my marker pen to just mark out the bits I needed to trim off so that the panel fit absolutely snug against the original bodywork. So when it does come to being welded, it's seamless. There was a lot of this trimming, taking back off, trimming, checking it again, just making sure it fit nice and snug. I kept doing this to the point I was happy with it before I then moved on to the panel beating side of things and bending the panel into the shape that I wanted it to be, sit correctly with the rest of the shape of the car before it came to welding. I then grabbed a small piece of timber I had laying around the garage to use as a straight edge, used my marker pen, lined it up with the line of the bottom of the quarter panel, drew that onto my panel that I've cut out of the sheet, ready to put it in my vise and start bending the panel into shape and beating it the way that I want it to be. Just drawing my lines here with the marker pen so I know exactly where to clamp it onto the straight edge in the vise. Used the piece of wood again to clamp into my vise because I've only got a short vise in my garage. Rested that along the line, clamped it in, started bending the piece of metal into shape. After this, it was time to grab the panel hammers and start beating it into into exactly the shape that I wanted, although I'd still have to check against the panel to make sure the angles I'm bending it to are correct. But it's a long-winded process, as I'm sure you can appreciate, but it's worth taking the time to beat the panel to the shape that you want. It makes it much easier to line up when you come to check it, and far easier when it comes to welding. Several times I had to go back and forth to the car, check the lines, mark the secondary line because the panel bends in two different directions. So the first line I marked, I bent it to a right angle, and then the second line I'll mark now that it's bent into the right position, and clamp the vise using part of my panel beating kit so I can keep the original bend and then bend the panel in the opposite direction to create the L shape that I'm going to need to get it to line up with the panel correctly. Little bit more taparoo in here, using two different types of hammer to get the line nice and straight in the panel. I think we're just about there now, so let's take it out and take a look. I think you'll agree that's not too bad for a first time check. Panel beat into place to a degree. There's still some adjustments need to be made here and there. Bit of trimming, bit of hammering. But she's not looking bad. Let's carry on with this at double speed and get the panel beating and cutting done. And then we can have a look at it when it's in place. Little bit more beating and a little bit more bending while getting the panel straight into the right shape. Had to take it on and off quite a few times here, as you can see, but we are getting real close. So that is about spot on now. So get my mole grips, clamp it into place so I can see exactly which little bits need tinkering with. A little bit of a tap here and there, taparoo. Get it somewhere near where it needs to be. A little bend there it needs by the looks of it. But we're getting close. There's a little bend around the back there that needs doing. It's just need another clamp there, a little bend, put it in the vise, give that little point on the corner a little bend so it lines up with the panel. And then I think that we're about ready for the welding. Here we go, winner, winner, chicken dinner.
That's my work. Yeah, that's my work. I tell her that's my fucking work. Yeah, that's my work. I tell her that's my fucking work.
Sometimes it pays to get the professionals in, so I took the car down to Coles Auto Tech in Stafford, who's done my exhaust several times, so I knew the welding was good, and got them to weld the panel in for me that I'd made. Didn't unfortunately get a video or photo of the welding before I'd started doing the bodywork. There was a little bit more that I found behind the petrol flat when I removed that though, and he did that for me. So after that was done, it was time for some bodywork. So I prepped the area all around the repair with 180 grit sandpaper. Did that, blew the area off with an air blower to make sure there was no dust going to get caught beneath the filler. Mixed my filler up, and as you can see, spread it onto the area where I was going to need it. Slowly getting the filler as level as I could so that leaves me a little less sanding down, a little less prep work in the long run. I put as much filler as I could into the area around the actual flat before turning to my finger because that was the easiest way to put it in. Although sometimes I don't know why I don't wear gloves because it would make things so much easier for clean up afterwards. But that's the filler about done. So that's all the prep done. Ready for some primer. On the metal repair, put the tape around the edge to keep the repair local so the scratches don't go so far. Anybody that's learning about bodywork, and when you're checking your bodywork, a lot of people use their fingers like this to feel if it's smooth. Wrong. You need a nice flat palm and run it across your bodywork like that. That's how you can tell if it's smooth or not. If you do like that, you can't tell. If you do just fingers, doesn't work. But yeah, we're ready for some primer. Let's go grab some of that. Give her a mask her up, give her a coat of that. Flat her down and get her to the body shop. And get some paint on it. It's my mate's body shop, by the way. Icon Bodies, if anyone wants to use them. But yeah, if ever you see my car at the show and you think, oh, the bodywork's nice on that, you might appreciate it a little bit more if you know that it's all been done by me. Either on a driveway or in my garage, one or t'other. At the body shop now, trying to keep her out of the rain, keep her as dry as possible because she's on the next booth run. It's the Icon Bodies in Stafford, ready for some paint work. Keep her in here because she's all wet. Masked it before I came for no reason really, because she's all wet, but we're here. She's waiting to go on the next booth run. Killing two birds with one stone while I'm here. The rear splitter that I've been making out of some sheets of aluminium for the back bumper, thought whilst I'm at it, I might as well get some paint thrown on that. So when the bumper's back on, the car's all ready to go back together, I can put that on as well. And that's the car all finished and ready for the shows again. And now it's time for the car. Quick bit of panel wipe with some tack cloths to get the panels ready for paint. And it's time for some colour to go on. Starting with the rear arch cover. Put a little lick on there. Get that looking fresh. First little bit of colour. And your light coat to begin with. Now onto the panel. Starting at the back, putting a bit of colour on the primer and going over the whole panel with the red. I think it's gonna look sexy. This is only the first coat, so a few more coats of this colour, thinning the paint down gradually so that the paint flows and gets that nice finish before we move over to some lacquer, fire that over the top, and that's job done. That's it painted, and I could not be happier with the result. Thanks to the guys at Icon Bodies. This is the part where you find out how good your bodywork really is. So that is the car all back together. Get a little bit of a close-up on the work here. You can't really see it great because I've put the arch on. Covered it all up, but paint job looks amazing. Thanks again to the guys at Icon Bodies. Pretty pleased with that. And as you could see in the video, there was the splitter being painted. Now I've since been to Coles Autotech and had the exhaust upgraded. You'll have noticed in the other videos that there were round exhausts. I've since had Range Rover exhaust put on to fill the gap a bit better, and I think that that splitter looks pretty good. I've wrapped the outside of it in carbon to give it that carbon fresh look, but yeah, very happy with how the car is now, looking showroom fresh. So if you've enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more of me dressed like a homeless man, then please click the link below, subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.